My wife, Sarah, had hidden that she was pregnant with her first love's child. And the revelation, at least to me, came indirectly during my own birthday party. It happened after Daniel, her former boyfriend, once again made a scene and knocked over the birthday cake. In front of all our guests, Sarah slapped him. For a moment I thought maybe she had finally put the past behind her. But later, when I went looking for the restroom, I accidentally saw them near the stairs. She was comforting him, her expression filled with an affection I recognized all too well. I overheard her tell him, "Enough, the child is yours. My relationship with him is just for appearances." Shortly after that, she returned to the party, found me, and announced that she was pregnant. She even promised she would finally fire Daniel from her company and organize another, better birthday party for me. What she didn't realize was that she wouldn't get another chance. She had concealed the truth about the baby's father, and I had already, secretly, started the process of filing for divorce. When Sarah made her sincere-sounding promise there in the party room, an awkward silence fell. Everyone else seemed to be watching, curious about my reaction, but I didn't respond. After a few moments, Daniel, unable to stay quiet, spoke up. "Come on, Sarah hit me for you. What more do you want? You're going to be a father soon, Alex. Stop being so serious." I just looked at him without saying anything. He was the one causing disruptions, yet somehow my silence made me the difficult one in his eyes. And while Sarah was my wife, the child she was carrying clearly wasn't mine. Just then, my phone vibrated. I pulled it out and saw a text message from my friend, Chris. "The pills you asked me to test? They're definitely birth control." A humorless laugh escaped me as I put the phone away. So the vitamins Sarah had been taking so consistently every day were actually birth control pills. It finally explained why we hadn't conceived a child in our 7 years of marriage, even though medical checkups showed we were both healthy. I remembered how Sarah had comforted me when I was disappointed after leaving the fertility clinic. "Don't worry," she'd said. "Even if I have to go through the pain of IVF, I will give you a child." I was deeply moved at the time and gave her access to all my finances as a sign of my trust and commitment. I never imagined that her plan all along was just to eventually become pregnant with Daniel's child while still married to me. I should have felt furious, but mostly I just felt tired. I didn't want to stay at the party any longer, so I turned to leave. Daniel grabbed my arm, annoyed. "Alex, it was just a cake. I'll buy you another one. Sarah put a lot of effort into planning this party exactly how you like it. Can't you appreciate it?" I glanced around the room again. It was true. The decorations reflected my preferences. However, none of my own friends were present. The guests were all mutual acquaintances of Sarah and Daniel, people who knew about their long and complicated history. They acted almost like guardians of Sarah and Daniel's connection, and I could feel their mocking amusement directed at me. It wasn't a party I had any interest in. I pulled my arm free from his grasp. Sarah, who usually took Daniel's side, surprisingly stepped in and scolded him. "What were you thinking causing trouble like that?" Then she turned to me, smoothed my shirt, and spoke softly. "If you're not feeling well, we can go home now." Even though she was siding with me for once, it brought me no comfort. As the CEO of a successful company, she often carried her professional, somewhat detached manner into her personal life. I used to accept it, thinking that was just her personality until 3 years ago. On my birthday that year, Sarah threw a similar party. Daniel showed up unexpectedly, smashed the cake, and knocked over a tower of champagne glasses. I thought he was just being disruptive and was about to have him removed, but then I saw Sarah, usually so calm, completely lose her composure. She actually left me and the other guests to chase after him, seemingly forgetting her own image. That was the moment I realized that while she could lose her temper, I had never truly reached her emotionally. The following year, Daniel did the same thing again. When I went looking for them, I found them embracing under a tree outside. This year felt different because she had actually reprimanded him in my defense, but I understood it was likely just a way to compensate for the fact that she was carrying his child. A slap, followed by a concession, it felt like a pattern. Seeing my lack of reaction, Sarah held my arm a bit tighter. I shook my head. "I'm leaving." Sarah seemed to understand I meant to go home alone and gently took my arm. "Okay, let's go home then." But Daniel called out to her possessively, then looked at me with a challenging expression. "Sarah's pregnant. She shouldn't drive. You should probably get a taxi home, Alex." Sarah gave Daniel a playful glare before turning back to me, explaining softly, "I actually have some urgent work to finish at the office. You go home and get some rest. I promise I'll throw you another birthday party this Saturday." I just nodded, not really engaging. I opened the door and stepped outside, taking a deep breath. I knew there was no urgent work. She was just making an excuse to spend time with Daniel, probably to make up for hitting him earlier. I took out my phone to call a taxi when another message arrived. It was from my lawyer. "Mr. Alex, your divorce papers are finalized and ready. They will be delivered this Saturday. Please provide a delivery address." At almost the same time, Sarah texted me the location details for the replacement birthday party she planned for Saturday. I copied her address and pasted it directly into the delivery instructions for the lawyer. I thought Sarah would really appreciate this particular gift. With that settled, I went home. Once there, I called my mentor, Professor Evans. "Professor," I said, "I'd like to formally apply to join the research team heading to the Isolated Island project." He paused, then tried to gently dissuade me. "Are you certain, Alex? Once you are on that island, there's absolutely no contact with the outside world for at least 10 years. Aren't you worried Sarah will search everywhere for you?" It was true. My disappearance would likely upset her. I remembered a time she gave a rare painting she'd bought for me to Daniel, replacing it with a convincing forgery for me. I was so disillusioned after discovering that I had made plans to move abroad permanently. But somehow my plans were leaked, and I was accused of trying to leave the country with sensitive company secrets. It led to me being detained, banned from traveling internationally, and almost losing my job. Afterward, she became intensely possessive, hiding my passport and ID, and even having people monitor my movements. If I traveled out of town, she always knew. It was strange. If she was still involved with Daniel, why was she so fixated on controlling me? I pushed those confusing thoughts away. "We're divorced," I told Professor Evans firmly. "She doesn't have any right to interfere in my life anymore." The professor then informed me that the next transport to the island facility was scheduled for this coming Saturday. Departure would be directly from the research center via helicopter, bypassing the need for standard travel documents. After ending the call, I put my phone down. It struck me as ironic that Saturday was the departure day. I had first met Sarah on a Saturday years ago. Her company was deeply in debt and close to failing. She had come, soaked from the rain, to pitch her company's technology to Professor Evans, hoping a partnership could save her business. The rain obscured her vision, but she clutched her proposal protectively inside her jacket, determinedly standing her ground even in front of an approaching car. I stopped my car then, offered her my umbrella, and took her to a small street vendor for some warm soup. Her determination impressed me. I helped her connect with my mentor. She secured the deal that saved her company, and our relationship began from there. Her business grew successfully, while I continued my academic research. To outsiders, we probably looked like an ideal couple. How had we reached this point of mutual unhappiness? Shaking my head again, I went into my study to sort through some papers. In a corner, I found a dusty book of project proposals we had worked on together early in our relationship. On the desk lay a collection of poetry Sarah had loved when she was younger. It was open, and the breeze turned the pages, revealing one where Daniel's name was written, followed by Sarah's handwriting. "I'll love you forever." So she was capable of expressing love openly, just not to me. I recalled our wedding day, how she struggled to say, "I love you," during the vows, despite the officiant's encouragement, and eventually ran off stage in embarrassment. I had found it endearing at the time, telling her it was okay, that she could write it down if saying it was too difficult. She shyly refused, but took my hand and returned to finish the ceremony. Looking back, the signs were there all along. It wasn't that she couldn't say the words, she was just saving them for someone else. Dismissing these thoughts, I gathered the necessary documents to send to Professor Evans. As I was finishing, my phone signaled a new message. It was from Daniel. He had sent a photo of Sarah asleep in his arms, followed by a taunting text. "Don't wait up. Your wife is with me tonight. She won't be home for a few days." Almost immediately after, Sarah called me. "Honey," she started, her voice sounding apologetic. "I'm so sorry, but something unexpected came up at work. I have to go on a short business trip for a few days. But don't worry, I'll definitely be back in time for your birthday party this Saturday. I even got you a really special gift this time. I promise it's authentic," she added playfully, referencing the past incident with the fake painting. Ever since then, she always made sure any gift from me came with certificates of authenticity or receipts. It didn't matter to me anymore. "Great," I replied coolly. "I have a gift for you too." Sarah feigned excitement, laughing. "Really? I can't wait. I hope Saturday comes quickly so I can see what you got me." I sincerely hoped she would appreciate it, I thought to myself wryly. I ended the call. Later, I gathered everything that represented our relationship, photos, letters, mementos, and burned them all, symbolizing the end of our marriage. During her supposed work trip, Sarah kept sending me updates on her location and requesting video calls, trying hard to appear loyal. While she insisted she was busy with work, Daniel privately continued sending me messages. "You really think she fired me? That was just for show. I'm her travel companion on this trip. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your wife." He even sent me copies of their flight confirmations. It wasn't surprising. Daniel was always impulsive and caused problems, but Sarah never truly held him accountable. Why would she start now over a spilled cake? I ignored his messages and focused on preparing for my departure. Daniel didn't give up, sending videos from their vacation spot. "What business trip?" he texted. "Just kidding you. We're actually having a great time." The videos showed Sarah smiling, and she even made a social media post, which was hidden from my view, about fulfilling a dream of traveling the world with her first love. I remembered the many times I had suggested trips, which she always declined, citing work commitments. It was clear now where her priorities truly lay. I didn't respond to any of it. I had my own work to finish and arrangements to finalize before leaving. Over the next few days, I commuted between home and the research center. Even the people Sarah had watching me seemed to relax their surveillance, as my routine appeared normal. Saturday morning arrived. I received one last message from Daniel. This time it was a copy of a DNA test result. He had preemptively done a paternity test, confirming the baby Sarah was carrying was his. He added a final taunt. "Did you ever wonder why it took her so long to agree to IVF, yet she only got pregnant recently? It's because after trying it once, she claimed it hurt too much. We conceived this baby naturally. This is our child." Seeing this message didn't evoke any strong emotion in me. Sarah had indeed betrayed me, and the pregnancy wasn't from IVF. But it didn't matter anymore. Today was the day I was leaving. I left my phone on the table at home, letting Daniel's messages accumulate unanswered, and went to the research center as planned. "Alex, it's getting cooler now. Ma'am reminded me to tell you to wear warmer clothes," our housekeeper said as I was leaving, handing me an outfit Sarah had apparently laid out. I smiled politely, took the clothes, got in my car, and drove to the research facility. Professor Evans met me there, and soon I was boarding the helicopter. As the city shrunk below me, I felt a sense of release. I was finally gone, and Sarah wouldn't be able to find me anymore. Meanwhile, Sarah had just landed back home. She apparently felt a sudden sense of unease and called the bodyguard assigned to watch me. "Where is Alex?" she asked. "He already left for work at the research center, ma'am," the guard replied. Hearing this, Sarah relaxed and sent me a text. "Honey, I'm back from my trip. Have you gone to work? Don't forget about the party tonight. Look, these are gifts I bought for you while I was away. Do you like them?" She attached several photos of souvenirs, but received no reply. She probably didn't worry too much, knowing I often missed messages when focused on work. She put her phone away and went with Daniel to the private room she had booked for the party. Her friends were already there. Initially, Sarah wasn't concerned about my absence, but as the evening wore on, and I still hadn't arrived, she began to grow anxious. She tried calling my phone repeatedly, perhaps 99 times, but got no answer. Just as she was deciding to go to the research center to find me, there was a knock on the door. A delivery person looked in. "Is there an Alex here? I have a package for delivery, needs a signature." Sarah visibly relaxed, likely thinking I had arranged a surprise. Honestly, she probably thought, we've been married this long. Why is he still playing games? She signed for the package and opened it eagerly, only to find 2 copies of official divorce papers inside. She was stunned. Seeing the names Alex and Sarah startled her even more, but her panic lasted only a moment. She likely remembered she had my ID documents hidden away and assumed a divorce couldn't be finalized without her direct consent, so she wasn't truly worried about the legality yet. However, she understood one thing clearly. I was angry. She tried calling my phone again, but it still went unanswered. Beside her, Daniel couldn't conceal his satisfaction. He assumed his taunting messages had driven me away, and secretly hoped I would stay hidden this time, unlike the previous instance when Sarah had managed to find me and bring me back. Seeing Sarah's distress, he feigned concern. "He's such a workaholic, Sarah. Maybe he's just engrossed in his work and lost track of time." Sarah seemed to cling to this possibility, nodding. "You're right. He must just be busy." They decided to go to the research center together to look for me. After confirming Sarah's identity, a staff member at the center shook their head. "I'm sorry, Miss Sarah. You were previously married to researcher Alex, but according to our records, you are now divorced. I am not authorized to disclose his current whereabouts or status. Please leave the premises." Sarah barely glanced at the ID card they handed back. "Impossible. I never agreed to a divorce. How could this happen? Especially now that I'm pregnant. He wouldn't abandon me like this." She knew how much I had wanted children, and believed I was too responsible to leave her while she was expecting. As she said this, she didn't notice Daniel look away guiltily. Sarah began to cause a scene, shouting and demanding answers, but the staff remained firm. "This is beyond our control. Please stop creating a disturbance, or we will have to call security." No amount of pleading or trying to use her influence worked. She eventually left, feeling bewildered, trying to think where else I might have gone. But the bodyguards confirmed they had seen me enter the research center earlier that day, and had not seen me leave. I had to be inside, or at least have left from there. Sarah decided to wait nearby, convinced she would eventually see me emerge. Late into the night, Daniel put his coat around her shoulders. "Sarah, let's go. It's cold out here. He's probably just angry and hiding deliberately to make you worry. Just leave him be. I'll be here for you and the baby. I'm the real father, after all." He put his arms around her, perhaps expecting her usual response. Instead, Sarah turned and slapped him hard across the face, her eyes filled with fury. How many times did I warn you? When you abandoned me years ago when my company was failing, you lost any right to be more than a secret in my life. Don't push your luck, Daniel." Daniel's expression turned resentful. He started, but Sarah cut him off. "The reasons don't matter now. Only the outcome does." Suddenly, she seemed to remember something. She could track my location using my phone. She quickly made a call and opened a tracking application. To her surprise, my phone's location showed it was at our house. Sarah immediately drove home. Pushing the front door open, she stopped abruptly. The house looked strangely empty. I used to enjoy collecting antiques, and she had spent considerable amounts acquiring pieces for me. The main hall, once filled with art and books, now had bare walls. She looked again, frowning more deeply. Our large wedding photograph, which had always hung in the most prominent spot in the living room, was gone. Anxiously, Sarah looked around the house and realized that all of my personal belongings seemed to be missing. She quickly called the housekeeper. "What happened here? Where are Alex's things?" The housekeeper sighed. "Since the birthday party, Mr. Alex was acting strangely. He gathered a lot of things, photos, books, papers, and burned them all in a pile in the backyard." Sarah felt a jolt of fear. "I told you to report any unusual behavior immediately. Why didn't you tell me he was burning things?" The housekeeper sounded unjustly accused. "Ma'am, I did try to tell you, but you were busy at the time. You said unless Mr. Alex was actually packing bags to leave, I shouldn't bother you with minor details." Sarah froze. She remembered the housekeeper calling, but she had been out with Daniel and, distracted, had dismissed the report without really listening. She regretted it deeply now. She quickly took out her phone and sent me a message. "Alex, where are you? I'm home now. If you didn't like those art books, I can order new ones for you. I promise, I won't make you upset anymore." She sent several more messages, but there was no reply. Feeling desperate, Sarah checked the phone locator app again. It confirmed my phone was still inside the house, somewhere upstairs. She ran upstairs, perhaps hoping I was just hiding, playing some sort of ill-timed prank. She pushed open the bedroom door playfully. "Okay, honey, stop playing around. I know you're in here." But the room was empty. There was no sign of me. Only my phone lay abandoned on the bedside table. Sarah grabbed it immediately. Daniel, who had followed her, remembered the messages he had sent and reached for the phone, but Sarah pulled it away. My phone didn't have a passcode, so she unlocked it easily. Opening the message history, Daniel's name was prominent, along with the stream of messages he had sent me. Did you really think she'd fire me? It was a joke. I'm the one who went on this business trip with her. Don't worry, I'm taking good care of your wife. The business trip excuse? We're having a blast. Have you ever wondered why she agreed to IVF, but only recently got pregnant? We conceived naturally. This is our baby. Reading the taunting messages, combined with the suggestive photos and videos Daniel had sent, Sarah's anger erupted. She grabbed a water glass from the table and threw it directly at Daniel. "Daniel! How dare you tell him all that? Didn't I warn you to keep quiet and not cause problems?" Daniel didn't move, and the glass hit his head, drawing blood. He didn't seem to care. "So, what if I told him?" He shrugged. "Stop deceiving yourself, Sarah. You never really loved him. You married him because he was convenient, a suitable partner. But you love me, and you're carrying my child. We should be together." Sarah slapped him again. "Do you really think you can compare to Alex? Get out! I never want to see you again." She leaned against the desk, clutching her stomach, breathing heavily, too angry to stand properly. Daniel changed his tone, not wanting to upset her further, possibly concerned about the pregnancy. "Don't hurt yourself, Sarah. I'll help you find him, okay? He can't have just vanished. We'll check with his friends, his mentor. We'll find him." Sarah's emotions seemed to stabilize slightly. Together, she and Daniel went to talk to my closest friends. But these friends had witnessed Sarah leave me alone at my birthday party twice to run off with Daniel. Now, hearing I had disappeared, they weren't sympathetic. They openly celebrated my escape and accused Sarah of being hypocritical, only pretending to care now that I was gone. Daniel nearly got into a physical fight with them. Sarah pulled him away, apologizing profusely, her face pale. They spent the entire day searching, contacting anyone who knew me, but found no leads. Finally, they went to Professor Evans's house. Seeing Sarah, the professor shook his head dismissively. "Leave, Sarah. You and Alex are divorced now. Stop trying to control his life." Sarah fell to her knees on his doorstep. "He left so suddenly. I just need to know where he went, if he's okay. I promise I won't interfere anymore." The professor just scoffed. "Don't worry about him, he's fine. He accepted a position on a highly classified long-term research project. He'll be living in complete anonymity. You will never find him." With that, he firmly closed the door. Sarah collapsed on the spot, sobbing without restraint. Daniel, hiding his own relief, pretended to comfort her. "Sarah, don't be so sad. If he really wants to hide this badly, there's nothing we can do. We're not going to find him. Just give up. Can't the three of us just live a peaceful life together?" Sarah wiped her tears, stood up, and spoke with renewed determination. "No. How could he just leave without my permission? I will find him." Sarah refused to accept it. She contacted media outlets, announced a missing person search, and began to publicly share a romanticized version of our past, painting it as a fairy tale. The story of the wealthy businesswoman and the dedicated researcher captured public attention, and many people shared my picture online, hoping to help. Sarah threw herself into the search, attending media events and following up on leads, becoming increasingly exhausted. Daniel worried about her health and the baby, constantly urging her to rest. "Take it easy, Sarah. You'll find him eventually. But you can't keep going like this without proper food or sleep. You'll harm yourself and the baby." He knew mentioning my name was the only thing that could get her attention, but she seemed obsessed, unable to rest until she found me. She constantly regretted accepting Daniel's invitation for that last vacation. If she had stayed home, she thought, she might have noticed something was wrong. But regret was useless now. Since she wouldn't listen to reason, Daniel eventually waited until she was exhausted and had her admitted to a hospital for rest and intravenous fluids. Sarah didn't know how long she was unconscious. When she woke up, she saw a figure standing nearby and cried out, "Alex, you're finally back." But as her vision cleared, she realized it was Daniel holding a bowl of soup he had made. He gently blew on it to cool it. "Come on, have some soup. You need to get stronger. The doctor said you need complete bed rest to protect the baby." Sarah recoiled, knocking the bowl from his hand. "I don't want you. Bring me Alex," she screamed, sweeping items off the bedside table, creating a mess in the room. The hot soup scalded Daniel's hand, but he tried to stop her from pulling out her IV drip, apologizing. "Sarah, I told you before. Back then, when I left you, I was forced to. My parents threatened me. What else could I do?" Sarah stopped struggling and looked at him coldly. "Get out. When I needed help all those years ago, Alex was the one who stood by me. I think I realized I loved him without even knowing it. And just when I finally understood that, he left me." A tear rolled down her cheek. She had always assumed her feelings for Daniel were the defining love of her life. But my sudden absence made her realize how much she had come to depend on my quiet, steady presence. She had so many things she wanted to tell me now, but the words remained unspoken. Daniel looked stunned, perhaps thinking she was being irrational, that she only valued me for my status and intellect while desiring him for passion. But before he could argue further, Sarah took advantage of his hesitation, pulled out her IV, and called hospital security to remove him from her room. Daniel didn't want to upset her more, especially given her condition, so he complied, but lingered nearby, watching over her. After leaving the hospital, Sarah continued her search relentlessly, even sponsoring a reality TV show dedicated to finding missing persons, hoping I might see it. People were moved by her apparent devotion, and my picture circulated widely online. Of course, this attracted scammers. Someone sent her a message claiming to have seen me in Africa. Although her staff warned her it was likely fake, Sarah, fluctuating between hope and despair, flew overseas based on nothing more than a blurry photograph. "Sarah, we found the person you were looking for. We brought him here," her contacts eventually told her. Filled with anticipation, Sarah looked up, only to immediately look down again in disappointment. The man resembled me slightly, but after 7 years of marriage, she knew instantly it wasn't me. Shaking her head, she was planning her next trip to follow another dubious lead when Daniel, who had tracked her down again, confronted her. "Sarah, stop this. This endless chasing back and forth, and do you even care about the baby anymore?" Sarah crossed her arms and looked at him icily. She then threw a folded piece of paper at him. It looked like medical paperwork related to an abortion. "Daniel, I warned you. Disobey me, and this is the consequence. This is all my fault anyway. If I hadn't agreed to your ridiculous trip, if I wasn't pregnant, maybe he never would have left me." Daniel stared at the paper, then yelled in disbelief, "Are you crazy? This was the child we both wanted." But after losing me, Sarah was consumed by regret and showed no leniency towards Daniel, blaming him entirely for destroying her life. If he hadn't constantly interfered, she reasoned, I wouldn't have discovered their past. They wouldn't have fought so often because of him, and none of this would have happened. Ignoring Daniel's rage, Sarah had him permanently removed from her life. "Daniel, remember all those mistakes and questionable deals you made while working for my company? The ones I overlooked? As soon as I get back, I'm initiating a full legal review. Get ready to face the consequences." The past issues Daniel thought were forgotten were brought to light. He faced severe legal penalties and financial ruin, effectively blacklisted by Sarah's influence. Broken, Daniel disappeared and was never heard from again. Sarah never stopped searching for me. Her life became a cycle of managing her business and desperately following any clue, however faint. Her efforts only led to more scams and dead ends. Despite repeated disappointments, she wouldn't give up. Missing me intensely, she eventually found a young man who bore a striking resemblance to me. She dressed him in clothes similar to mine and tried to coach him to imitate my mannerisms, but it was a poor imitation. No one could replicate my personality, and the attempts felt awkward and hollow. Time passed. People advised Sarah to accept reality, that I wasn't coming back. But she clung to the hope, holding a birthday party for me every year. At these solitary events, she would drink heavily, point to the untouched cake, and speak to the empty room. "The cake I promised you is ready, Alex. Why haven't you come back yet?" She lived in a state of perpetual waiting and neglected her business affairs. Eventually, during an economic downturn, her company collapsed and ceased to exist. After losing her company, Sarah suffered a complete mental breakdown. She would talk to the air constantly, apologizing repeatedly for losing me. Her parents, burdened by debt and despair in their later years, passed away, leaving her entirely alone. During this time, she often wandered aimlessly, sometimes caught in the rain, until one day, a kind stranger offered her an umbrella, perhaps reminding her of how we first met. The severe trauma led to selective amnesia. She retained only fragments of happier memories, disconnected from the painful reality. People who had once relied on her financial support abandoned her. However, some saw an opportunity in her tragedy. They began featuring her story in online streams, crafting narratives about her struggles that gained widespread sympathy. Unaware of the exploitation, viewers donated money, enough to cover her living expenses in a mental health facility. Her story became a recurring piece of viral content, eliciting pity and outrage about life's unfairness each time it circulated. 10 years later, on the remote island, the project concluded. Helicopters departed one by one, eventually gathering at a mainland research facility. Researchers in specialized uniforms emerged to applause. I stepped out and saw Professor Evans, looking older, waiting for me. "Alex, welcome back," he greeted me warmly. The 10 years had passed quickly, filled with intense research. Now that I was back, my mentor gently brought up Sarah. "Alex, Sarah's company failed several years ago. She's been living in a mental health hospital since then. Do you want to go see her?" I was momentarily taken aback. Had Sarah really deteriorated so much because of my departure? But I quickly shook my head. "No, Professor, thank you for telling me, but honestly, I'm just really looking forward to some of your wife's home cooking." Professor Evans understood, and his wife smiled kindly. The three of us headed towards a nearby grocery store. After a decade away, the city looked different. Old neighborhoods were replaced with gleaming skyscrapers, and giant digital screens displayed advertisements everywhere. Out of curiosity, I glanced up at one screen, just as a segment about Sarah began playing. It showed footage of her talking to herself, seemingly addressing me. "Okay, Alex, I'll come eat right after this meeting." An emotional narrator recounted her downfall, while the program clearly capitalized on her situation. Viewers were shown crying and urged to donate by sparing the cost of a cup of coffee to help Sarah live a better life. Suddenly, someone in the crowd nearby pointed at me. "Hey, aren't you Alex? Your wife, Sarah, has been looking for you for years." I managed an awkward smile and shook my head, waving dismissively. "Sorry, I think you have the wrong person." Then, I quickly guided Professor Evans and his wife away from the bustling street.